I interviewed a number of spies that the show put me in touch with. Turned out a few people I actually knew.
My job in the CIA was to go undercover, make contacts, and see if they knew information that could be useful.
So you left us for 6 years to make friends?
You'd prefer I kill people?
Well, I was aware of the original. I'd seen it in 2020. Loved it. And actually was thinking when I was watching it, and that doesn't usually happen. It happens sometimes where I was thinking, I wonder what I could do with that character. I thought it was a fascinating world. And then I just got there was contact made from David Glasser to my agent. I knew Paramount were behind it. They were going to put a lot of energy and resource into it. And Smokehouse were involved. And then just read the scripts, read the first 2 scripts. And there was an intelligence to it, there was an energy to it. There was an homage to the original series, but there was also its own personality. And there was its own personality to the Martian character as well. And then I said, any more scripts? And read 2 more scripts. And very quickly, actually, I was on board. It all happened pretty fast on my end.
When I obviously came in to the picture, Michael was a big draw for me. Joe Wright reached out and wanted to meet with me for it and wanted me to audition for Samia, and I read that first script and I loved it. Obviously Michael being attached was a huge draw for me because I've for a long time been a very big fan. I was like, I'm gonna be doing this against Michael Fassbender. I hadn't seen the French show, and then I went and watched it and I was like, look at the material. So I was just like, yeah. For me, it was kind of a no-brainer. I was very attracted to who was involved, and I thought the writing was really great. You know, you don't always get to tick all of the boxes, and when it's like...
Yeah, that was the thing, was the combination, Joe Wright being attached to start the first 2 episodes to set a tone, a mood, and then, we had all those other elements that I spoke about, and then the cast started getting, in place. Jodie was on board. Because at one point they were going to try and get us to do chemistry tests, and I was like, no need, it's like there, because I saw the audition tapes and I was like, this is fantastic, And then Jeffrey came on board, huge fan of it. Richard Gere, legend. Katherine I'd worked with, this is our 3rd time working together, and then it just started going, John Majaro, and just kept growing, this sort of great cast. And each of the characters on page, and I think on screen as well, have their own energy. They come, different backgrounds. There's a real dynamic energy. Each character is integral to the story as well. There's not a great deal of fat on it. It's all very lean.
This is the 3rd time I've worked with Michael Fassbender, which means that he's now become the person I've worked with the most in my career. And it's such an incredible advantage to have a genuine history with somebody. You're able to sort of jump in the deep end in the performances because there's so much trust there. That's a very positive memory for me of this first season, just reuniting with him and just getting to work.
You may suffer from chronic hypervigilance like many returning agents. So, is it possible that you have something to hide?
I had conversations with people involved in this kind of line of work. And there was one conversation with one gentleman in particular where it was sort of the idea of this sociopath within Martian, and he ticked a lot of the boxes of what it takes to be a sociopath. And then I was like, okay, but it seems to be a sociopath in some ways trying to find his soul or regain whatever it was. There was a humanity there. I thought, anybody that enters into this world, which I found talking to people, they believe they're doing something for the benefit of their country and who they're serving. There's great sacrifice involved, and I thought there was a lot of idealistic sort of approach to it. But that was like, maybe he started at 19, 20, 21. What is the situation with them 20 years later when the actual sort of practicalities of doing the job means that you need to blur a lot of your moral sort of guidelines. So the moral compass, where is it now? And then, just for me, it's working with the script a lot, you know, and rereading and reading and reading and spending a lot of hours with this character, asking questions, you know, what do the parents do? Where do they come from? Why do they get into this? You know, why are they staying there? Do they have, you know, an alcohol or drug problem? 6 years is a long time to be out there. And, you know, and then just sort of those little components just start to settle into the character, and then it just starts to find itself, you know. That's kind of, it's not a very intellectualized process, or not a lot of note-taking. It's quite a sort of organic one.
If anything might start playing you.
She's not in the game.
By definition, if you're in this game, nobody knows.
I read a lot about women in the CIA to prepare to play Naomi, and that was definitely my primary influence. I didn't expect to be so riveted by their stories. For my character, the pressures of being responsible for the lives of others, and, you know, you train these people and you send them out, and then what happens, and hopefully you've done a great job at training them. So that sense of responsibility was very moving to me, and certainly useful in the way that I prepped and portrayed this character. I interviewed a number of spies, some active that the show put me in touch with, and it turned out a few people I actually knew who kind of came out of the woodwork, retired. I don't know, spies, I guess is the best way to put it, who I spoke to. It was fascinating. There were so many things I felt I had gotten wrong about that world, or other programs hadn't fully illuminated some aspects of it, that I found totally interesting. How being charming and convincing are like prerequisites for this job, which is so ironic, right? Because everybody's lying. But then, you know, you see the parallels with acting, of course, that what is demanded of us is that we are totally convincing in a fictional world. We're always trying to win over and seduce in the work. And I suppose in a way also as we promote shows, because we want people to watch them and we're proud of what we've done. So these prerequisites of my job are also the prerequisites of a spy.
With every character, I always start with just like what's on the page. So I kind of went into just trying to understand culturally who this person would be, and what then, based on her background and culture and the desires that she had, what would be driving her. Language is also a big thing. I mean, we were all, I think almost everybody on this show is operating within an accent of some kind, but that's another element of nuance that kind of matters, because I find that, speaking differently isn't just the way that you sound, it is also who you are, and there is a cultural element to that as well. Having a different mother tongue, the way that you think, the way that you feel, the way that you process, the cadence of your speech. Those were some kind of obviously more technical aspects, but I sort of used them to infuse Samia with her own kind of nuance, so that she was a real person.